Okay, and we're live. This is Deacon Joseph Swaden. I have I'm doing this show. I am going to get to the finish the how-to on apologetics. That is something that will be coming with time, um, probably in the next week or two, and then hopefully I can wrap it up with the last concepts needed, and then kind of make like something more worthwhile out of it. But that's not really why I'm here right now. Why I'm here right now is because of interesting news. Now, I will say this. I am going to be quoting from my own website, and that is quoting from various other websites with the sources linked on them. So if you give me just a moment, what I'm going to do is I am going to place that on the screen because it is important. So let's share the screen right now. It's always interesting to just see more than me just bopping there as a circle. Hold on, let me see here. There we go. So sharing the screen now. And so this is updated Moscow Patriarchate to take in hundreds of Alexandrian clergy over the Ukraine celebration. This is news as of today from the Synod meeting in Moscow that occurred yesterday and today. I find this poetic justice to some degree. I have been trying to reach out more. And hello to everyone who's here. Hi there, Max. So I've been, trying to reach out more to other Orthodox. I'm trying to do this on a local level and also on a level in terms of reaching out over the internet. Trying to build bridges, if you will. And part of the reason I'm doing that is because I, genuinely feel that Orthodox Christians should try to work together whenever they can. So I got a whole bunch of yells and screams about me being a schismatic. That happens all the time. It doesn't bother me. But it seems like every time this sort of thing happens and I try to reach out, His Holiness, the Patriarch of Moscow, does something that forces not me, but you, the confused listener, to take a side. This is something that has, if you're, in the true Orthodox communions, you always had to pick a side. As a matter of fact, sometimes you have to pick too many sides. But in this one, you only have two sides to pick, and that's you're either Team Moscow or you're Team Constantinople. The other side is a filthy, evil, schismatic group, and probably funded by the CIA. Since I said that, you can tell what side I'm on. But in any case, the point I'm trying to make here is that today, Moscow finally decided to take in hundreds of Alexandrian clergy, clergy of the Patriarchate of Alexandria, over the recent visit of the Patriarch of I think it was Ukraine visited Alexandria, one of these, but that was enough. Moscow said enough is enough. They had already had hundreds of clergy applying to them, and they didn't want to do anything. Now they're doing something. Now, I see this as a good thing because, frankly, the Patriarchate of Alexandria has had its problems. It still does. I have tried to help out people in Africa, which I'm kind of broke at this point, so I can't do anything. But I was looking for communications for people in Africa to talk to, and the closest I could get to was the seminary. And who are they friends with? They're friends with the weirdos at Fordham, the sodomy fans. And the point is, I don't want to, recommend people who are like, just innocent people in Africa to go meet up with the sodomy crowd. But this is unfortunately the case. We know that Elpidoporus, for St. Bartholomew's Day on the new calendar, decided to go over to the Episcopal Church, which was known as the queering of Christianity in New York. That's where he decided to celebrate. So the problem is ultimately that you're going to have to pick a side, and that side has to be orthodoxy. I've been saying this till I'm blue in the face, and people don't seem to understand that. It's not as simple as just going, well, this side's canonical. Because canonical means following the canons. Actually, I'm going to switch this over to the decision of the Moscow Sobor, because that actually shows that Moscow's trying to follow the canons on this, and so this is like the documents of the journals of all the meetings stuff. And so I'm going to get down to number 60, which is the one that deals with, this is new stuff. This came out today. So, this is judgment on, it was Patriarch Bartholomew's visit to Kiev. And it gets right down to it. It goes right to the canons. If you look, resolved, it says, legitimate hierarchs of the Ukrainian, his violation of visiting the Ukraine and going to the UOCIA, as I call it, it violates Canon 3 of Sardica and Canon 13 of Antioch. So Patriarch Kirill is following the canons in this case. And I must add, he's also noted that Patriarch Bartholomew has lost the trust of millions of believers, and he basically says he no longer has the right to speak on behalf of the entire world Orthodoxy and present himself as his leader. I agree with him. You don't agree with him if you are one of these folks that's going canonical. I don't know. I'm not going to name names. You all know they're way more famous than I am, and that's exactly how I like it. But when you scream canonical, this is canonical. Bartholomew is not canonical. Concelebrating with him is not canonical. The Fortimites are not canonical. Until you know what the word canonical means, which means following the canons, don't use it. So let's continue on. We look here, and we see here that, where does it go? It gets to number 61, numerous requests, which we later learned were hundreds from Interfax, of clergy of the Alexandrian Patriarchate, who are leaving. They want to go to Moscow. And Moscow didn't want to take them in. The stream started, apparently, in 2019. But Alexandria was kind of wavering on it. But now they've just gone in fully for union with the UOCIA and the Patriarch Bartholomew, which makes sense because the people of the Alexandrian Patriarchate, the priests, are mostly African. But in the higher-ups in Alexandria are mostly Phanarite Greeks. And so the point is they're going to side with Constantinople, even if the people don't, which is why we're now seeing a popular revolt. That's canonical. They're appealing to somebody who's acting Orthodox as opposed to somebody who's not. So, with that said, hold on, scroll down. Let me include a link. Okay, someone said we can't see what you're reading, and that's fine. Let me see if I can. It didn't update on here. That's a little strange. Oh, it's because it opened in a new window. Hold on. So now I gotta go to that. Where is it? It is this one? No. Is it this one? No. This one? No. This one. Okay, so it opened up in a new window. Let me share this one. That's online translate. Okay, so I'm going to show this document. I'm also going to include a link so you guys can read it too. Okay, so let's go here. We're going to stop the screen. And we're going to share the actual Synod documents from Moscow in translation. All right, I believe that's this one. Yep. Okay, so this is what I was talking about with the canons here. This is it's called Magazine of Resolution is what it really is. Number 60, and that's where it talks about the violations of the canons. Right here, Canon 3 of Sardica, Canon 13 of Antioch. These are canons based upon the movement of bishops to, they're going outside their diocese and they're effectively invading. To continue condemn the continuing anti-canonical actions of the Patriarch of Constantinople aimed at destroying the unity of Orthodoxy. My, it's almost like saying that the Patriarch of Constantinople isn't canonical. What a surprise. This one I love. Note the purely political nature of Patriarch Bartholomew's visits, which reveals his dependence on external forces in relation to the Church. Effectively, the Moscow Synod is calling Patriarch Bartholomew a Sergionist. And so then it goes into the canonical crimes of Patriarch Bartholomew, those who supported the schism, how he lost the trust of millions of believers in case you didn't see it the first time, and basically that he's no longer the leader of world Orthodoxy. I agree with him. The problem is that most of these guys who go canonical, don't really agree with him. They don't follow that to its logical conclusion. They want to say, I recognize Moscow, but I recognize Constantinople too. And guess what? That's not possible because they don't recognize each other. And so in that sense, it's this is kind of sad. Let me see, and we're just basically. I have nothing to say. I mean, for me, it's like they could restart the Patriarchate of Alexandria if they have to. That's what happened with Antioch when they all joined with in 1724, when all the bishops joined with the Roman Catholics after being trained by Franciscan missionaries for like 3 decades. They basically brainwashed them into thinking they were Roman Catholic by controlling the educational institutions, and then took over and did a union, and it had to be the monk Sylvester, who eventually became Bishop Sylvester, who fled to Constantinople and had to restart the Antiochian what's the hierarchy. So, if you look at these things in history, you start to realize that is how things have always gone. And so, from my perspective, again, if you're looking at the True Orthodox Church of Greece, if you're looking at the True Orthodox, even the Catechomnics, who Father Peter Hears is very ably covering right now, if you look at their lives, they did what they had to do for the survival of Orthodoxy. Calling them names is evil. People who call them names are doing evil. And I'm going to say that clearly because I haven't said that clearly, and now I'm going to. Because when you see this, and you see hundreds of African clergy, meaning thousands of African people, are desperately asking the Patriarchate of Moscow to take them in because of the anti-canonical actions of Constantinople, then you turn around and say, well, at least they're all canonical. No, that's not how it works. That's not what the Patriarch said. That's not what the Holy Synod said. That's not what's happening. And so, let's see. I'm going to see here. We're going to go through some of the comments. I see there's a few. Sup. By the way, Deacon, are you going to do a part 2 on Islam? Yes. It hurt my brain so much to read the first 2 chapters that it's going to take me a little while to get to the next 2. I know you don't like it, don't want it. Yeah, I know, I don't want to do it, but I'm going to because that's our job. Scroll down, we can't see what you're reading. I hope I fixed that, Devin. Public orthodoxy is not canonical, neither paganism and dialogue. They're not only not what, yeah, but they are supported not only by Fordham, but by the Patriarchate of Constantinople. These people, as much as we hate to say it, have a lot of power in that side of the system. So they have a lot more power than, people realize. Do they have power in the parishes? No. Do they have power over priests? No. But they don't want power over those. They want power over the institutions. That's why if you want to you have to go to Facebook and find these African bishops or something if you want to reach out to them directly, because otherwise your main conduit's going to be something like Orthodoxy and Dialogue, which, as we know, is, it's run by, that type of guy. And so let me see here. But we would like at least one more video on Islam from you. Oh, I'm not done with Islam. Oh, trust me, I'm not done with them. Africans are base. Simple. I can agree with that. The Synod of Alexandria didn't follow their patriarch in recognizing OCU. I wonder if they would depose him. I get the impression based on these documents, and again, I'm going to include links to these documents so that you can see them yourself, because it does seem that the situation has sufficiently changed that Alexandria is in fact recognizing the UOCIA or the OCU, whatever you want to call it. That's a link to Yandex Translate, because quite frankly, I trust Russians translating Russian more than I trust Google. And so, yeah, you would be right that violates apostolic canon regarding the head acting without the rest of the body. In this particular situation, however, Devin, it is the Patriarch of Constantinople that's moving. He has full support from his synod. So, the fact that they're doing this anti-canonical action, and if we throw in the fact that they're supporting ecumenism, homosexuality, and all the other crazy things that they support, then, yeah, it's perfectly legitimate. And it's because of this stupid veneer of canonicity, something that was invented in the 1960s to make people think, oh, the official churches were official. That's the whole point. It's officialness. And that's not orthodoxy. Orthodoxy is not officialness. It's truth. And so the point is, if people are having like headaches, just look at the facts. The guy's dressed like an Orthodox patriarch. He goes and he violates the canons. He celebrates with the Pope. He commemorates the Pope in Turkey. You realize Constantinople actually commemorates the Pope in their liturgies. And they support all the modernism, all the gay marriage is probably coming because they've did the open communion with Nathaniel in Chicago. So if you're honest with yourself, if you just take away the veneer of canonical, take that word out of your brain and just look at the facts, you will see that Constantinople is not Orthodox. And Moscow agrees with me. They don't agree with the people who say it's still Orthodox. They're the bad people. They're wrong. So that's really all I had to say. I mean, I'm going to be, I'll stay here for a little while longer. I'll take questions, comments, even angry comments. If you want to, yell at I'm a schismatic, I'll be like, okay, so is Patriarch Kirill. I mean, I'm in good company. So the point is, it's one or the other is right. And ultimately, orthodoxy is as orthodoxy does. To quote Forrest Gump, you can't claim to be orthodox and then do something not orthodox. It's just that simple. I don't know how to make it clearer. And that's okay. Many people don't realize, even though I believe back when Bishop Enoch was doing the show with me, he actually mentioned that in some sectors, when the beginning of the schism started, there were Moscow bishops who made reference to the Greek Old Calendarists and said, we could always talk to them. Then they were like, no, we'd never do that. Maybe they would do that. I mean, think about this. Okay, speaking of Patriarch Alexandrian, rather unrelated, but what do you think of the glorification of Kirill Lucaris? I've actually, I've read a lot of stuff on Kirill Lucaris, and I get the impression that he was a good and holy man, even if he held some sorts of, I guess you could say Calvinistic sort of beliefs. Who knows? Maybe he's there to get the Calvinists in the church. I have no idea. Maybe people in the Calvinists, like these, I don't know which ones are the Calvinists now. Is that the Presbyterians? I guess like they'll start, praying and asking Kirill Lucaris for help, and he'll help them, and they'll come to Orthodoxy. I have no idea. You're my favorite schismatic, by the way. Well, thanks. I appreciate that, Max. You too. Anyway, waiting impatiently for your next video on Islam. I really hate to break this to you, but it's probably not going to be today. So I'm definitely not doing it today. And so let's see. I think this is similar to the Aquileian Patriarchate going under Constantinople, but at the time, Rome itself wasn't de facto heretical. You're absolutely right. Stuff like this happens, and the 3 chapters controversy is perfect proof of that. And it's also a proof against Roman jurisdiction, universal jurisdiction, because they were they were actually a Western synod that declared themselves a patriarchate during this period because of that, and they did go into communion with Constantinople. I don't know that they were considered themselves under Constantinople since they were Western, but in any case, that was, back then, all bishops in the West used to, say the episcopal oath that they were successors of Peter. So, they probably just saw themselves as the real successors of Peter. Let me see here. I suspect Russia might be willing to talk to Greek Old Calendars. I'm in the OCA and I feel similarly. Well, I say, why not? I talk to people all the time, and I'm not, in formal communion with them. But if they're Orthodox, just, keep good relations with people. People who divide. I was watching this thing yesterday that Brother Augustine was doing with Father Peter Hears, and this guy came out, and I'm not going to name his name, but the guy starts going off on Father Peter, calling him an ecumenist, which is stupid, so on and so forth. And then I chimed in on that because I knew that this guy had been saying, I am the real Orthodox, and I said, what bishop are you under? And since he didn't have one, we were like, well, then you're not really under any bishop at all. You're not Orthodox at all because you don't have a bishop. And so the point is, he then eventually said that he was writing by mail to the Kirill Synod, which I don't know if I even believe. But the point I'm trying to make is that sort of spirit, I've seen that for 20 years. That is very common in the Greek Old Calendars. What I'm saying now is that we're seeing it today in World Orthodoxy, throwing around the word schismatic. People who do that, that's not healthy. If there are Orthodox Christians around you, you have to work with them. And it's not. Let me see here. I think MP made a movement to build relations with the Greek Old Calendars in the past. I don't know if I read some fake news on this. Well, no, they mentioned it was during the beginning of the schism between Moscow and Constantinople. They mentioned that possibility because the Greek Church was at first kind of siding with Constantinople. Then they realized, oh, that's a mistake, so they became kind of divided. So there's it's kind of a divided issue in the state Church of Greece, and that was kind of their motivation. I think some of those bishops mentioning the various true Orthodox, because they were kind of giving a hint that they could do that if they had to. And let me see here. I'm part of non-commemorator World Orthodoxy, but I don't see the World Orthodox Patriarchates doing something about this situation, at least not momentarily. Well, I think today they did, because today, a few hundred people left and switched sides. So yeah, there are things happening. And it's, the thing is, when it comes right down to it, if I was to give my own, kind of 2 cents on it, I would say that without a doubt, I'm fairly sure Georgia is Orthodox. I'm sure Poland's Orthodox. I'm getting more and more confident that Moscow might be Orthodox. It's probably Orthodox, actually. I know they have Orthodox bishops in them. And so, I'm basically just 10 patriarchs away from Patriarch Kirill's position. But what I won't do is I won't add in bishops who are not like Constantinople, because they're not Orthodox. And I'm increasingly convinced none of their bishops are Orthodox. I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I'm convinced that whole synod is just a bunch of unionist, and frankly, possibly worse. Let me see here. I say this because all the other patriarchates are in communion with both the EP and the MP. We'll see about that. We'll see about that shortly, because I don't think the Patriarch of Alexandria is going to take losing hundreds of his parishes to Moscow lightly. My guess is he's going to be upset about it, and we're going to see some more division in the Alexandrian Patriarchate. But these are the things we kind of have to watch for. The point is, stuff like this has been happening all over the world for for the past 100 years. It was only in 2014, as I mentioned recently, that they literally restored the canonical, I guess you could say, their canonical existence with take, for example, they basically the news stories put it out like, well, they went back to the old calendar, which to many true Orthodox would be like, that's not enough, you've got to condemn ecumenism. What they actually did was they turned back time. They went to the 1920 encyclical, which started this mess, with the new calendar, mixed celebrations with heretics, so on and so forth, and they just said, we refuse to recognize this. It's gone. They just wiped out 1920 from history. It's like a reboot. And so that's kind of like, that sort of thing happens in Orthodoxy. It's just a given. Only some priests of the EP are faithful, like Father Maximus Constant. Yeah, and I feel bad for them. I feel really bad for them, because they don't know what to do. And this is one of the big problems that, especially, I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't envy faithful priests in World Orthodoxy who are trying to do the right thing, because their salaries, their lives, their families depend on just following the company line. Because most, old calendarists don't carry a salary, we usually have to 90% of us have to find our own jobs. That doesn't affect us. But if you have a family and you've got mortgage payments, yeah, that affects you. You want to toe the line really well, but the simple reality is you got mouths to feed. That changes the calculus of everything. And so that's it's tough, and I feel bad for them. And just be grateful to God you're not in their position, because you don't have to follow. You don't have to do that. You can go to your local ROCOR parish or whichever parish you want to go. You're not bound by anything if you're a layperson. If you're a priest, if you're a deacon, you are stuck more. And let me see. I do think it's a legitimate question to ask a cleric who their bishop is. I mean, it shouldn't be such a hard thing to figure it out, if you get what I mean. I don't totally get what you mean. My bishop is Metropolitan Nicholas of Cincinnati. If you want more information about him and you go to NFTU, he wrote a Paschal epistle. It actually has his contact information. But in any case, and I've never really been a secret before that, when I was with Metropolitan John and Bishop Enoch was co-hosting my show, I certainly wasn't hiding it. But as for Father Peter, if that's a reference to him, I would be I'd be concerned too, because these people, the people who are willing to say, yes, Constantinople is canonical, yes, Fordham's canonical, yes, all that stuff is canonical, we have to be on the same team. Those people, as soon as they know who Father Peter's bishop is, they start writing letters, they start writing emails, they start making phone calls, they start making it really, really hard for that priest. They've done this. They tried to do that to Father Josiah Trenham, and I think it actually ended up in a lawsuit. The point I'm trying to make is people who are trying to maintain a fake canonical unity with sodomy should be ashamed of themselves, not trying to attack faithful priests. They're tools of the devil. And so let me see here. What do we got here? Hypothetically speaking, what would it take to get the MP in communion with the Greek Old Calendarists? First off, it would... Okay, the first problem is, I could rephrase that as, hypothetically speaking, what would it take to get the Old Calendarists in communion with the Old Calendarists? Because there's like 4 or 5 different groups of them. But the biggest one, which would be that one under Archbishop Kallinikos of Athens, and with Metropolitan Demetrius here in America, I don't think it would be very, very complicated at all. What I think all they're waiting for really is just a more explicit condemnation of ecumenism. There have been many clergy in the Moscow Patriarchate who have spoken out against ecumenism, but I think what they would like to see is just an official statement saying ecumenism is anathema, something akin to what the Rocor Declaration of 1983 was. And since the Rocor is in communion with the MP, they're already a quarter of the way there. I remember when they were joining in 2007, people were saying the anathema against ecumenism was going to be wiped off. That's what was being said. So for you guys who are new to Orthodoxy, etc., way back when, in 2006, Rocor, there were people in Rocor talking about the end of the Rocor as a body. They were talking about the end of the anathema against ecumenism, that they were going to be gone, wiped out. So times have changed, but the anathema is still there, and it's still changing hearts and minds. So I think that's really, that's what it comes down to. If you look in most of the reunion councils and most of the reunion movements that have happened in Orthodoxy historically, they would have to condemn ecumenism, modernism, surgeon. They just have to, very generic things. And then ultimately it then falls on the Old Calendarists, because if we are saying that those are heresies and you say that those are heresies, then we either have to figure out how to reunite, or we become the schismatics, because at that point we're now using excuses. We're not being honest, and whoever's not honest in their dealings is usually the one holding to the schismatic thinking. At this point, maybe it would be better for 2025 to just come to see the EP joining Rome and then the World Orthodox cutting EP from the church. The problem is, as we're seeing now with Alexandria, it's not so simple. If hundreds of clergy are leaving for Moscow, that means that the remainder are going to stay with Alexandria, which is going to stay with Constantinople. Now, granted, they're going to be moving towards union with Rome, and they're going to get closer and closer to all this perversion. But that is simply the reality. That's simply the reality of the situation. That it's not going to go as neatly as a clean break. That didn't happen in 1724. It never happens. It's never that clean. Personally, I think an unambiguous condemnation of ecumenism from the MP, I think that would pretty much solve 90% of the problem, to be quite honest. And Devin asks, wait, you're not in the Metropolia anymore, Father Deacon? No, I'm not. Is Bishop Enoch? Yes, he is. He is a bishop of the Metropolia. So, in any case, let me see here. And somebody just sent me something. Okay, all right. And so, let's see. And so let's see here. Are there any other questions? And again, I think that this is good news. The only people who would see it as bad news. Okay, there's a question here. When did you leave and why? I left last October, and it's for family reasons. I really don't feel comfortable discussing it. And then, is that why Bishop Enoch isn't on anymore? No, that is not why Bishop Enoch isn't on anymore. Bishop Enoch actually sent me the articles about Alexandria today. The reason why he's not on anymore is because he kind of felt that this was all we could do with the Apologetics channel, or all he could do. He really felt comfortable with, and he wants to work on NFTU News. So hopefully we're going to be doing an NFTU News broadcast this Monday. So yeah, that's my hope. He just got bored with the show. In any case, but he likes the NFTU News idea, so he's still doing that one. Let me see here. What else was there? I think, were there any other questions? Because I mean, we've been here, talking for about a half hour. This is big news. I'm going to get the Interfax English article just so you guys have it. I'm going to put that in the chat here. Give me just a moment, because that's important. People say that's not really happening. Yes, it's really, really happening. And this sort of thing is happening, and this is part of how things shake out. Again, there's a reason the prayer book says heal the schisms of the churches. It's always been this complicated, and anyone who tries to make it black and white usually ends up on the wrong side of one of them. So it's all peaceful. It's not all peaceful. It's all not peaceful. Excuse me. Yeah, it's true. You just have to wait. Are there any responses from the Alexandrian Synod? Not to my knowledge. This news is literally, I believe, 12 hours old. This is brand new, and responses like this have been historically slow. I would expect something. Probably they'll say something by maybe Monday, or they're going to wait out to see if there really are hundreds of people leaving. So that's kind of, usually at that level of the hierarchy, people take a real wait and see approach. Like they might be just saying, oh, Russia is just making this up. Well, they're going to find out. So this is, it's an interesting time. And, but more importantly, it might be the beginning of the threshing of the church, which is what needed to happen. Or as one elder said, the changing of the ship. Who knows? I don't. But so far right now, I'm on Team Moscow, and that's all I got to say. Okay. Excuse me for being annoying, but I am more interested and excited about your next stream on Islam than about current MP news. I totally understand. I will get to it. I promise. It maybe this weekend. I don't want to be forced into a corner on this. I get nervous about that, because then I'm never good with schedules. But I will try to get something up before the end of the month. I think you skipped my last question, Father Deacon. I didn't see it. Is your group still in communion with the Metropolia? No. I'm not in that part of. They still have there are Russian groups in communion with the Metropolia. I'm not sure if that was a bad dream or not. I really have to look that up. Oh no, it wasn't a bad dream. It was real. The Russian group that's in communion with the Metropolia has some problems now, and unfortunately, it will probably be on NFTU News, and we'll probably cover it on the NFTU News show. Very sad stuff, but no, we're not. Metropolitan Nicholas comes from one of the continuing ROCOR groups, notably the group under Metropolitan Damascene. But he's not in communion with them anymore. So let me see here. Okay, yes, I did. No, you will not. Maybe my phrasing was off. I'm not pushing. I know. I'm not. Trust me. I'm not affected. I'm excited to talk about Islam eventually too. I'd really be excited to debate a Muslim, but unfortunately, there aren't that many that don't have like 50,000 followers and debate with Protestants and stuff like that. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I just have to make them mad and eat a Quran or something. I have no idea what you have to. No, I don't have enough. Yeah, I'm not famous enough for that. That'll get me like shot or something. But anyway, so that's Other than that, if there's no other questions, and let me see. Funny how I'm more interested in Russia being based. LOL. Okay, I get that. Yeah, I did reply to that. Yeah, okay. And then he said, never mind. Shabir Ali actually has something like 250,000 followers, if I'm not mistaken. He's considered more of the left wing of the Islamic groups because he's got more of a modernist sort of thing. He tends to go for reinterpreting the surah and things like that. So you have to be careful with that. And he loves modernist biblical criticism. And so let me see here. Called Rashid with barbecue sauce. Let me see what we got here. The Quran is a terribly written book in comparison to the Bible. I 100% agree, and I've only read 2 chapters. Let me see. You can always send it to me in the comments, etc. I'd have to, again, I've read 2 chapters of the Quran. I'm not ready to debate Muslims yet. I'd like to. I think I could on some things, but I feel like I want to be 100%, and I'm like 90%. So that's why I started, putting stuff on Islam publicly, because it is something that I do discuss and think about and argue about. Okay, we're waiting, and let me see here. Sheikh Asar. I didn't see this one. I don't know who that is. Really no idea, but I'll take that into consideration. Okay. I've read 85% of the Quran. I'm sorry. Anyway, so that's that's basically, I think we've got that covered. If there's no other questions, comments, concerns, no one's mad at me, that's fine. No one wants to take the side of public orthodoxy, that's good. In that case, I'm gonna go. Again, the news links are in the chat. Take a look. We're not making this up. This is real. And as always, you can always visit nftu.net, where we keep track of stuff like this. And so in that case, till next time, which may be Monday when we do NFTU news, take care. Have a good feast of St. Theodora of Alexandria, and have a great day.